Hello, welcome to the channel. Here I'm going to be talking about the Xbox One X, as it's now called, 2017 presentation from Microsoft at E3, and I'm joined by my old partner in crime and my good friend. We haven't heard from him for a while. It's Mr. CHET ROIVAS.
Yo.
So Chet and I decided to hook up to talk about the Xbox One X conference, just because we hadn't spoken about games on a recorded medium for a little while. And I'm intrigued, Mr. Roivas, about your overall thoughts about the conference.
Okay, well, what I wanted more than anything was a bombardment of reasons to buy the the Xbox One X. What I wanted was a load of exclusives, brand new hardware. I mean, the thing that I didn't apprehend at all is that they would mimic Sony so closely. I really thought they were going to come out and start a new console generation. I thought that the Scorpio specs were high enough that it was going to do that it was going to be a new start. So that was really flabbergasting. This is basically their equivalent of the PS4 Pro.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, to be fair, that was kind of the thing that had been rumoured and suggested all along, that, you know, there was going to be that sort of backwards compatibility or sort of backwards facing nature of this machine, much like the PS4 Pro, and it certainly has specs above the PS4 Pro. But you're right, and I do think the cross-platform games that we're going to see, just because of the install bases, are still probably going to be benchmarking towards PS4 Pro standards, although they're obviously hit higher than that on PC. And I think it's going to be down to the exclusives on Xbox One X. It's difficult to remember what it's called, to see exactly what the machine is capable of. But I think, you know, overall a good presentation, very long, sort of 1 hour 45 minutes. We won't go across every single game in this conversation just because we'll be here all night. But I like you, the fact that it was just a bombardment of games. Gone are the days of just Don Matrick and a load of random corporate heads talking about TV, and that there was no mention of TV or even apps or anything like that. It was purely games-led, which I think is the thing to do. You can talk about other stuff.
I really did worry when they brought the car out at the beginning during the Forza presentation. I thought, oh god, no, please, not Smoke and Mirrors, not Usher doing a dance number, please. But the fact that it was just that and they got back to the games was to be commended, I reckon.
So just, I mean, I'm not going to talk about the specs here because, I mean, you and I don't really understand that stuff. The crowd hollered about something to do with memory readout or something like that. I was like, you're a bunch of fucking liars if you're cheering about that. But just some stuff that I wrote down. Obviously, it's called the Xbox One X. It's going to be priced at $499, which is pretty steep. It had been a suggested price, Ruben price, and Jeff Keighley actually broke that earlier in the day. It's looking like $450 in the UK for people watching from England. That's a lot more than PS4 Pro is currently retailing for $330 in the UK. I think for $350 in the US, maybe $399. But it's still, this is a lot more expensive than a console that's, you know, already got a much more popular library, I guess, and obviously that massive install base, so developers are heading there first most of the time. It's going to be a tough sell, I think, for Microsoft at that price, but we shall see. Like I said, it's sort of backwards facing, so all your Xbox One games will work on this, and anything that comes out on Xbox One X is going to work fine on Xbox One. We shall see. I mean, if PS4 Pro is anything to go by, some of it will run better on Xbox One. Actually, that almost definitely isn't the case, judging by how that machine's been since it came out. Phil Spencer said there's enhanced visuals for everything, so I'd imagine that's going to be like the PS4 Pro, some boost mode stuff, some patches improving games to perhaps 1440p, sort of the in-between stages between 1080p and 4K, and the first-party stuff. A few of that stuff's getting patches like Gears of War and Minecraft and Forza Horizon 3, which will look amazing, I'm sure. And then if you've still got a 1080p TV, they're saying the games are going to have super sampling. Honestly, judging by what I've seen on a 1080p TV with the PS4 Pro, that is going to be negligible unless you've got Digital Foundry eyes. Honestly, I mean, you will be able to see a difference, but when you're in a game, I mean, it's not going to be much. Maybe the frame rate stuff will help in some games. But overall, I mean, it's by all accounts an extremely powerful machine. We're talking sort of, I think, like upper mid-range PC these days. And when you consider a top-of-the-range PC is going to set you back $2,000, I think that I mean, that's cool. That's definitely cool. But it doesn't really matter if you don't have the games. But to be fair to Microsoft and Xbox, they talked about 42 games on this conference, hence it being so long. So I'm not going to go across every single one. I'll probably mention most of them by name, but we'll only discuss the major ones. And like we said, they kicked off things with Forza 7, and while it looked very, very nice, they did the Porsche reveal. Carheads probably got excited. I couldn't give a flying shit.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt it looked nice, but Forza 6 looked nice on Xbox One. Very nice and played very nice. And I think we are perhaps in a stage of diminishing returns. There's no doubt that it's a beautiful looking game, and they talked about some of the gameplay innovations like puddles that fill up over time. It's like, I mean, really felt you're reaching here. I mean, unless there's a huge advancement in driver AI or online connectivity, how much better, how much more realistic, how much more sort of fidelity can we get out of driving games? It really is a case of diminishing returns here, and that's not really to disparage Forza 7, which I'm sure will be a fine fine game. But, I mean, we are at the point where I can't see it getting that much better.
Yeah, I mean,
really?
there's photorealism has reached a certain point. I mean, I'm sure the thing that I'll say about this conference that I thought was very, very odd, I mean, in particular the Forza demo, there seemed to be a bit of mild stuttering. Perhaps it was my stream. I was watching.
Do you know what? I was having that as well. So yeah, I'm not sure what was going on there.
As a tool to sell the new machine, I thought, whoa! I swear to God, this doesn't look anywhere near as good as Forza Horizon 3 does on my Xbox One. I think if you showed that game, it would have been more awe-inspiring. I think across the board, a lot of the gameplay demos that they had, they seem to be slightly either stuttery or they seem to be lower resolution than you'd expect. There are some exceptions to that, but as somebody who has an Xbox One, plays Xbox One primarily as their primary console, I felt less inclined to buy the new machine after watching this, as somebody who doesn't have a 4K TV, because of the games just kind of look like Xbox One games a lot of the time.
Yeah, I don't think, considering you've got a 2TB S as well, the janky old piece of crap that I've got.
The radio.
Without exactly. Without a 4K TV, I don't see there's not going to be much there, to be honest. I honestly don't think there is. I think with a 4K TV it's probably a must if that's going to be your console going forward, but I mean, even if you're getting a low-end 4K TV like I did, you're still looking at the best part of £1,000 come the end of the year to take that upgrade for slightly better graphics. When you can play all these games already, it's going to be a tough sell.
That's why it's so weird. I'm so surprised that they basically have brought out their equivalent of the PS4 Pro. The weirdest thing is that the PS4 Pro has PS4 in the title. The Xbox One, you'd think that they'd call it something else, because
I know.
The Xbox One, it's the console that I use the most. It doesn't have a good library of exclusives. If you're trying to get people on board, I don't know what you'd put forward as a great case for it, because even now, it doesn't. The exclusives are pretty fucking subpar on the Xbox One.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, gone are the days where, I mean, I know there's still Halo and Gears, but they're not what they were.
No. I mean, those games are made, in my view, by people who didn't really understand the appeal of the originals. And in the case of Gears, I just think we've moved on, and it's a 10-year-old game, really, to Gears 4.
It basically is. Yeah, I mean, you're completely right in that respect. And I mean, I guess in some ways Forza is as well, and that's again not to disparage it. I'm sure it will be a proper 9 out of 10 piece of work. But
who cares?
Moving on, quite rightly. So moving on, I think the game that really sort of showcased how powerful this machine is to me from an early part of the conference, anyway, was Metro Exodus. They didn't announce the name until the end of the demo, but a really beautiful demo, and I loved Metro Last Light and sort of enjoyed and admired Metro 2033, although didn't get through that game. And the animation of the enemies in this demo and just sort of the lighting and the effects did really look like a sort of step up. And there's a part where the character steps outside into a bright day and sort of looks across this environment. I'm hearing that it's not necessarily an open world, but far more open environments than we've seen in those games previously. And yeah, that coming through on a 4K stream and 4K TV did really look quite outstanding, and the sort of pedigree of that studio and what they've produced before with those two games makes me excited for this game. That's actually something that I do look forward to getting my teeth into, and also had no idea existed.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I mean, I loved the first two. I liked both of those Metro games quite a lot. So I was really when they opened with it essentially after Forza, I thought, wow, that's something akin to a gamble, I thought, because to my knowledge, those games didn't sell brilliantly, did they?
Yeah, I mean, I think they did decent numbers, and I'm sure the development costs were relatively low just because they're made in the Ukraine. But yeah, it's not the kick down the front door sort of game you'd be expecting to launch a new console with. And I think they've been in a slightly strange situation because, I mean, Sony almost downplayed. They did their own almost a conference for the PS4 Pro with the PlayStation experience at the back end of last year, but everything was a little bit downplayed because I think that they knew that the machine that they're releasing, it isn't, a complete game changer. The PS4 Pro isn't. It is a better machine. I like the fact that I have it. I like the fact that on my 4K TV, it feels more fresh and new. The machine is slicker, but it doesn't feel like I've gone... Like, the Switch is way more impressive to me. But just because it's a new machine and there's, like, new... Even though it's way less powerful, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And whereas in this conference, they're selling it like a new machine, but the reality of it isn't. It's an upgrade, like you say. So it's kind of caught in that kind of dichotomy where... not dichotomy, there's a bit of a dissonance there where you're like, okay, well, this is all about a new conference. Sorry, this is all about a new console that isn't actually a new console.
Yeah. I mean, that's what when I was looking at Metro, I thought, yes, I really want to play another one of these. Looking at it, the way the mechanics work, the way the game's structured, apparently, judging by this trailer, I thought, I've done that. I kind of wish that there was something... The problem that I had with this whole conference is that there was no risks taken. I wish they'd have really, really gone out on a limb to try and promote something that was completely off the wall. And Metro, as much as I love it, I just thought that looks really like the last Metro game. Which was disappointing. Very pretty. I mean, it looks pretty spectacular, but I just something new. I need innovation. All I want is innovation, and so that was dispiriting. It kind of looked like a very, very souped up version of the last game, which is great. But I just please anything, just something a bit newer than that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same as you, and I think this is going to be a problem we run into. Is sort of, I think generation and the generation thing might have changed from hardware to software almost. As games like Overwatch and these games that people play for sort of year, 18 months, 2 years, and they take on their own communities and evolve over time. That's almost like the new generation. These sort of more traditional structured games start to feel a little bit old. I've talked about Horizon Zero Dawn already on this, and that is a game that I played, and as impressive and beautiful it does feel quite old. It feels like it's a game from about 2011, just in terms of how it's structured and its open world and the way that certain parts of the open world are completely non-interactive. So as beautiful as it looks, you're not really connected to it in the way that you might expect from like even a Breath of the Wild, which is nowhere near as impressive technically, but allows you to do things that feels new and fresh. So I think this is going to be a problem that we run into quite a lot with this situation.
I mean, I saw Horizon Zero Dawn running, and I've got a PlayStation 4 at home, and I'm looking for games. But as soon as I saw that, I just thought, I've done that. I've done that. Yeah,
you've done it many times.
I can't do that anymore. I really was excited for Uncharted 4, for example, but I stopped after a few hours because I cannot do the same thing that I've done a million times before. So yeah, the conference is kind of leaning towards games that are not innovative, which was a problem. But yeah.
Talking of which, the next game on my list is the game that got leaked all over the place. Like Ubisoft cannot keep a lid on anything, as we know. It's Assassin's Creed Origins, which again, it looked very, very pretty on my TV. The series has obviously taken a 2-year break, and we saw a gameplay demo of the new character Bayek moving through the sort of ancient Egyptian landscape and doing very, very Assassin's Creed things. I mean, it could have been Ezio, quite frankly. He does at one point chuck a bird up in the air to... basically, it's a drone from Ghost Recon Wildlands, or indeed the bird from Far Cry Primal. It's the exact same mechanics, just a little spotting mechanic. And it was only at the very end of the demo where he gets into combat, and it's sort of changed from that classic Assassin's Creed Batman-style counter-combat to something that looks more like Dark Souls, just in terms of Z-targeting, parrying, etc. But apart from that, very, very familiar, very pretty, and looks interesting, and like the guy's voiceover, like incredible levels of polish, it seems, which has been a problem for that game in the past, that series in the past, but... nothing that was hugely inspiring. Saw some loot in there as well, which is obviously very a la mode. I mean, you can't really have a game these days without loot and different levels and crafting and all that shit. But there's something quite daunting about, okay, here's an Assassin's Creed game, isn't it? Those games are just so fucking big and so packed.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see.
I love those games, really. Like, I love them so much. I mean, I loved the last one way more than everybody else did, the one set in London, and I think it didn't get a fair shake from critics.
It definitely didn't. It definitely didn't.
I like that series a lot. There's something in me that just really likes it. I like the sort of bold steps that they've taken sort of behind the scenes over the years. And I was sitting there thinking, great, Assassin's Creed, I'm here. I'm your target audience. Sell it to me. The last thing I need is footage of a guy creeping around in sort of knee-high grass and then taking somebody out in the boat. Like, I don't need to see shit that I've done a billion times. I mean, like you said, the stuff that when you got inside to that building was a little bit different, but I got so fatigued by like, I've done this. What else is there? What else is there? Yeah. I suppose it's preferable to them implementing systems that mean nothing and that bring nothing to the game, but a prettier game that I've played almost 10 times in the past is not really going to do it for me. I mean, I will play that game probably, but yeah, I mean, again, it's the same thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you are the man that had to review 2 Assassin's Creed games at once.
Yeah, Rogue and the terrible one on the Xbox One. Yeah, that was a dark couple of weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, so we'll keep tabs on that and see if it does innovate at all. But yeah, we shall see. We shall see. Jury's definitely out, but we'll see more at the Ubisoft conference.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Now, a game that is more innovative and is certainly interesting, and a game that I know that you're going to enjoy, but you haven't had the opportunity to play yet, is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. It's like the big hot shit at the moment. You know, it's the biggest game on Twitch. It's the game that's selling a ton on Steam. It's the game that all the people in the know are talking about. It's a big coup for Microsoft, I think, to be able to get this as a Xbox console launch. I mean, I don't know what that means. I assume that means it's coming out a bit later on PlayStation.
Yeah, timed exclusive. Because there was a very, very clear distinction between Xbox exclusive and Xbox launch exclusive. So yeah, I assume that means timed. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely, but I mean, I've played this game on my PC a decent amount, but I'm no good at mouse and keyboard, and freely admit that. And also, the game's not very well optimized, still being in early access. And my PC is okay; it's a solid mid-range PC, but it runs that game like shit. So I'm used to seeing that game basically looking like Minecraft, and to see it in 4K on there, I was like, wow, this looks so cool. And I know that you'll love this game, being able to squad up with 4 of us in total, and just play this kind of battle royale mechanics where you get dropped into this huge map, go and try and loot a bunch of buildings, hope you don't get killed when you haven't got anything to hand, and then go out, whether you're playing solo, in pairs, or in a bigger squad, and then go and basically just being the last man standing or the last team standing. And it's just a game that creates stories. It creates moments and stories, like all the best multiplayer games, like all the best systemic games. And even though I was terrible at PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds on PC, just because I can't really play to any level with mouse and keys, I can play a single player game like that, but I can't compete with people who've been doing their whole lives. The fact that it's coming to console and the fact that I'm going to be able to play it properly, I think this is going to be a game that we play to death, quite frankly.
Yeah, when you spoke about it, when you played it on PC, I was like, oh god. That's the first time in a long time where I've thought, God, if there's some way I could get a cheap PC to run a game, that would be what I do. So this might actually end up being one of the smartest moves that they've made, I think, because there's such a buzz around that game. If the exclusivity window is long enough, that might actually bring people to Xbox. I think it was during that game, but throughout the conference, they kept saying. It came up at the bottom of the screen. Interactivity on Mixer. Now, Mixer is Microsoft's version of Twitch, but interactivity on Mixer. I mean, I kept thinking, what does that mean? Does that just mean that it has the same functionality as Twitch, and you're trying to oversell it? Because I didn't really understand that. They were like, did you make any sense of that stuff?
Well, there's some games that Twitch users can directly interact with, can't they? Like some stuff that you put in the comments actually can affect the game and things like that. I'm assuming.
I had no idea at all.
I'm assuming maybe it's something along those lines. I didn't really notice that stuff coming up at the bottom of the screen, I have to say, but there was mention of it in a game a bit later. Someone saying something about something that happened from Mixer, so maybe they're going to be pushing in that direction, but again, that stuff's always come across as quite gimmicky and never really anything fundamental. But it's interesting what they're doing with this Mixer thing, like taking on Twitch and Amazon and trying to go against one of the biggest websites in the world.
Have you used it much?
I've literally not touched it.
Okay, well, I mean, because I tried to Twitch a couple of times from my Xbox One, and Twitch on Xbox One, it basically doesn't work.
It's garbage.
Mixer,
you're better off fucking filming it on your phone.
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that Mixer works so well is quite astounding, because it really is a slick... The problem is that if you want to watch someone play a game, they have to be doing it on Mixer, so the community is amazingly small. That's why I was curious about this interactivity thing. I didn't know whether they were really trying to innovate with that, or whether it was just like saying, hey, you can use Mixer if you want, which is not exactly going to sell it to anybody.
No, I mean, I'm assuming it might be taking that stuff to the next level, but the fact they didn't go into specifics makes me think that it's nothing hugely game-changing.
Yeah, that's what I was suspecting as well, yeah.
Okay, next game up was Deep Rock Galacti, a bunch of, like, looked like sort of a combination of a Borderlands-y cult shooter and Minecraft. I hated the aesthetic of this game. I thought it looked ugly as hell. Some people said it looked cool. Yeah. I don't. Given there's 42 games, I don't think there's really any point dwelling on this one. No. But you know, it's a game. Let's see what happens with that one.
Yeah.
And then State of Decay 2, which they gave a decent amount of time to, and the sequel to like a really, really good game on Xbox 360, and very much seemed like more of the same, but with, you know, better visual fidelity, and I'm assuming more systems. I mean, that was very much a systems-driven game, and that's what made it so interesting. And again, like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, despite the fact that this was a single-player game, basically, it was a game that created stories sort of dynamically and emergently. And I'm assuming State of Decay 2 will do the same. I mean, there's only so much with a voiceover trailer with some music and stuff you can take. It just like, I've done this looks like a better version of it, but assuming that the engine runs a lot better than it used to, it should be pretty damn special, to be honest, unless it's just the same shit again. It needs more, but I'm sure that's going to be there.
Well, I think if they just essentially remake the first game, I think they could be onto something, because one of the problems with that game is it was so fucking janky. It was one of the most it was one of the sketchiest games I think I ever played on 360, or indeed any console. It was such a mess, but you were so compelled to continue. I mean, I think if this has a slickness to it, it will be a significant Xbox exclusive. But I thought it was weird how the trailer was just putting an emphasis on it as kind of an action game. Zombies, kill zombies. I thought the game's about suspense, and it's about sort of resource management and stuff. It's not really about getting into... If they take the game in that direction, whether it will be the success that I suspect is another matter. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to play that game. I really can't.
Yeah, absolutely. Then they moved on to one of the most unpleasant sort of 90-second to 2-minute experiences of my life. A terrible, terrible man screaming over a really shit-looking game.
Yeah.
In what I do for work, I obviously have been writing about games for years, but on the other side of what I do for work, I work with brands, and a lot of the stuff that I do is in the world of esports, although I wouldn't say I'm intrinsically linked. And there's a lot of positives in that world, and a lot of things are very good and very impressive about it. And when you go to like the high level tournaments and events, the sort of level of slickness and polish that is in that world is incredible. But what is really unpleasant is people reaching for that world and trying to emulate it. And this is exactly what this is. I don't know whether this man, Jethro Tull, as he was called, is a proper commentator, or shoutcaster as they're called for some reason. Or I don't know who the fuck this guy was, quite frankly. The Darwin Project is what the game was called. It looked like a kind of horrible, cartoony version of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, but with some sort of hero powers, a la Overwatch. But this guy just screaming over it made me know it's just horrible. It was just really horrible. I just wanted it to end.
Yeah, I've written down here Battleborn plus Friday the 13th hashtag cunt. Because I was talking that guy, I don't get that whole thing. It's a guy shouting literally what you're looking at. I don't know what the whole that whole process is. Very, very odd. It's, you know, shoutcasting. If you're adding nothing to the experience, why are you doing it?
It's such a weird situation, because I was watching. Sorry to cut you for a second. But I was watching some Tekken 7. Like the finals of the recent Combo Breaker tournament. I don't watch a huge amount of fighting games online, but I just decided to watch it, and it was actually really good. It was a really good final, and it's a really good game to watch. They have that thing where, you know, it's sort of moments of real excitement, it slows down and zooms in, so that really helped the visual experience. I've played Tekken since the first one came out on PlayStation 1. I've played every single version. I've played hundreds, if not thousands, definitely thousands of hours of Tekken. Like, I'm not a high-level Tekken player, but I know that game inside out. Like, absolutely. I had no fucking idea what either of the commentators were talking about. None.
But because you know, in TV or radio, there's periods where you have to fill dead air to bridge a gap between two things. What they're doing is bridging a gap between nothing and nothing. It's just the inanity that, you know, normally it's completely inane when people are trying to fill air. They're just barking fucking nonsense. I don't know why anybody would need that or want that.
I absolutely agree. I mean, to be fair, in the Tekken one, they were giving sort of in-depth technical feedback on what was happening. But it was happening. They were saying it so fast and it was so technical and so full of jargon that I had no idea what they were talking about. And I liken it to, like, when you watch the UFC, especially a few years ago, you're watching, a lot of people will be watching stuff that they don't quite understand, especially when the fight hits the ground, but Joe Rogan or whoever would do a good job of explaining what was happening in kind of layman's terms without ever moving away from the depth of his knowledge in talking about, and you know, and you need that in sports. You watch any major sports, not esports broadcast, and you have people like that, a colour commentator, sort of explaining what's going on. And I think esports needs that. If I can't understand Tekken, I mean, no, you know, that's never going to reach further than me. I enjoyed watching it, but I just had to tune those guys out.
It's not even about explaining anything. I mean, that guy was not explaining anything. He was just
he was a fucking devil.
He was just. I do wonder if kids these days are going to have, you know, they're going to have to hire somebody to walk around with them and explain exactly what they're looking at, because it's so bizarre. Why would you need somebody to? Anyway, sorry, we're going off on a tangent here, but I thought that was completely inexplicable. And the game looked, to be honest, fucking shit.
Yeah, it looked like hot garbage. And was he in a prison outfit, or is that just how my memories changed the whole thing?
I don't think he was, but for the sake of argument, that's how we will forever recall him.
Next up was Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. Then Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Now, we are both probably a little bit too old to have been into Dragon Ball. My younger brother is 7 years younger than me. That was big when he was young. So I saw loads of people online sort of blowing up who are sort of in their late 20s. Very excited about this. To me, it looked like Marvel vs. Capcom, too manic for my brain. And I was going to say my old brain, but those games have always been too manic for me, even as like a 19-year-old or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I'll move on from that one unless you have anything to add.
I thought that was an odd choice to include, to be honest. But just jumping briefly back to Minecraft, I thought it was great that they've done this thing where they're making it completely cross-platform. That's a terrific thing. And the fact that they're giving it this graphical upgrade that it still looks exactly like Minecraft, but very, 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 very nice as well. I thought that was not. I don't play Minecraft. I don't care about Minecraft, but that seemed like a couple of good things to do.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. It was nice to see the little Minecraft switch in there as well. That was kind of cool. Okay, next up was an MMO called Black Desert, which
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, I mean, but it just didn't it didn't appeal to me. And then when he said it was an MMO, I was like, all right.
Yeah, see you later.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Next up was a game that looked very stylish, very, very stylish, called The Last Night. This was the 2D pixel art kind of Fifth Element, lots of like a flashback style as well. Don't know anything about it, but certainly won the style points, I'd say, for the show. Yeah,
intriguing, very intriguing. I mean, the problem with this is and the reason I don't care about sort of game trailers is that you don't know anything about the game. It did look very, very interesting. I mean, I'm intrigued that you went for the Fifth Element rather than Blade Runner, because I thought it looked quite sort of dark.
It was a flying taxi. Yeah, I would have gone Blade Runner, but it was the flying taxi. Yeah, at the end.
I mean, one to keep an eye on for sure, I think.
Definitely, absolutely. And then they also showed a game called The Artful Escape, which seemed to be sort of platformer where you're playing guitar solos. I didn't like the way the guy looked, but if it's sort of music-driven platformer with guitar, I mean, keeping tabs. I'm keeping tabs on it.
Yeah, I saw it and I thought,
did you get a pun?
What was it? Oh, keeping tabs. Oh, right. Is that what it was? Yeah, right. Okay.
That's what we do. Yeah.
I saw it and I thought, fuck, it looks like... I thought they were going to say it was some sort of sequel to Guitar Hero Man. Although it didn't look anything like Guitar Hero Man. It looks like a Bomani game, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, hell yeah. And then you got Code Vein, which is the sort of Soulsy thing from Namco.
Yeah. And cel-shaded Bloodborne, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, could be good, could be shit, who knows. Tacoma, which is out soon from the people that made Gone Home. I don't know much about the game. I've been sort of loosely following it from a long distance, going, oh, that exists. It's in a space station. It's going to be one of those games. I'll probably play it.
Yeah, I mean, no information really.
And then one of the longest demos of the Xbox One X conference was Bubsy.
Well, I saw it and I was like, Conker's Bad Fur Day. No way, they're going to fucking bring back Conker. And yeah, it was the most blatant Mario rip-off since the fucking 16-bit era, I think.
Yeah, it looked... I mean, I don't know. I thought when it came on, I thought, oh, Elliot, who's my 5, nearly 6-year-old son, will love this. And then I watched it, and I was like, no, he won't. He won't love this at all. This looks shit.
Shit. It does look shit. Did you see who developed it? I didn't see the bit at the beginning.
To be honest, I actually thought maybe you were going to go, there was no Bubsy, because I just tuned it out and just wrote Bubsy because I heard it got announced. I assumed I don't even know for sure that that's what that was.
I swear to God, everyone in that auditorium, when you saw that tail, and I thought everyone must have thought Conker. They're going to bring Conker back. But yeah, I mean, this is Super's lucky tail. I mean, yeah, see you later.
Yeah, I'm good. I never even played Bubsy back in the day.
No, me neither.
Right, and then the fantastic looking Cuphead. We'll see how it plays. Could be, we don't know yet.
September 29th, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, you can't fault the style. So
yeah,
it really is special. And then an interesting one. I don't know how many people picked up on this. You got Crackdown 3, which it kind of just looked like Crackdown to me. I'm sure that's my memory playing tricks on me. But now being made by Sumo Digital, where before I swear it wasn't. I swear it was back with Real Time Worlds or one of the Scottish teams that were behind the game in the first place. And now moved to Sumo in Sheffield, who are the people that have made like all the Sega ports for years, and like Sonic and All Stars Racing, or whatever those games are called. So yeah, not too sure what's gone on there, but cool. I mean, I'm up for it. If it's like Crackdown 1, then great. If it's like Crackdown 2, then
no
hot gobs.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks exactly as you'd expect it to look. I think Sumo Digital were always on board. I literally don't know, and neither do you. So this conversation means literally nothing. I was disappointed. I mean, Terry Crews is always an amusing presence, but he's such an obvious choice. And I was watching his, shtick, him doing his shtick, and I just thought, what if they really went overboard? And can you imagine Shaun Ryder doing that? Standing there, I just thought that would be so much better, and it would be cooler as well. Terry Crews is a very, very obvious choice for that. But anyway, the game looks like it might be fun, but it would be so good. Can you imagine that? Him just spouting sort of macho gibberish. It would have been so much better if it was somebody completely out of left field. But yeah, if this is like Crackdown 1, yeah, great. Otherwise, who fucking knows?
Yeah, and that's a launch game, November 7th. They said that was coming out. So. Yeah, proper exclusive, proper launch game for Xbox One X. So good stuff. They didn't mention any of that cloud stuff that the original demo a few years ago mentioned. Like when you play co-op, you can be able to destroy the city in a cloud. I'm assuming that stuff's gone in the bin, but we'll see. We'll probably find out more this week in the near future. Yeah. They ran a montage after that of idea Xbox games. I've written them in my terrible doctor-style handwriting, so I can't even read most of them. There was a guy called Osiris something. Interesting looking game called Observer, which is like first person, looks quite scary. Shift, which is sort of very pretty 2D brawler. And then the game that they focused on a little bit longer, which I looked terrible to me, but it was called Ashen. So people with no faces walking about. Yeah, I don't know what that was all about.
I feel. Yeah, to be honest, that idea Xbox section, I was like, great, this is going to be an explosion of ideas, and it was an explosion of ideas, all right, but they were fucking old. But yeah, Ashen, I remember that. That's the one that looked like, what the fuck's that?
Yeah, no face. Then Life is Strange Before the Storm. I've still not played Life is Strange. I mean, so many people rave about it. It's on PS Plus at the moment. I need to download it and give it a go. But yeah, people are interested. I can't comment because I've literally never played them or even seen a minute of them.
I played the first chapter, was spellbound, never got around to doing the rest. So I'll play that and I'll play the sequel. So I'm quite excited about that.
Awesome. And next up, we're getting through this at a decent pace actually, which makes me happy. But next up was for me the coolest game of this conference, which was Middle-earth: Shadow of War. I thought what they showed. We talk about innovation, and this is sort of within an established genre, absolutely, and an established series now.
Yeah.
But I loved what they showed here. The idea of dynamically recruiting an army, as well as like changing the hierarchy of the enemies, like in the original game. I loved the dialogue of the big monster, like the Aussie guy. Really well written, really well animated, genuinely funny. The way he changed from being sort of an aggressor to a teammate was. I was like, wow. Shame the main character's face is so bland, but I can get over that. I really liked Shadow of Mordor, as did most people, just because the Nemesis system was so cool. The combat was excellent. And the idea of just being constantly confronted by these gruff orcs who are animated and voiced brilliantly, and it just seems like that. But they could have just done, we've done this again, we've made it bigger, we've made the environments bigger, there's some new moves and it looks nicer. But they've not. They really seem to try to take the Nemesis system to a completely new level and do different things with it. So that for me was the coolest thing that I saw on that conference.
Yeah. I like Shadows of Mordor okay. I wish it was I wish there was more, because it's 90% Assassin's Creed and 10% the Nemesis system. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a bit more of a split and be a bit more interesting. But this presentation, and I think this applies to a large portion of this presentation. Don't tell me that footage could not run on Xbox One. It looked like an Xbox One game.
100%.
Yeah, completely. Again, this is where I think they've really fallen down, is that they haven't really sold the power of the new machine.
Well, I think, and that might be a case of this being a third-party one as well.
Yeah, maybe
and it
so,
not being a 4K.
Yeah.
I mean, that could have been 1440p, which is going to look nice, or even 1080. Like, yeah, you're right. It looked like an Xbox One game.
Yeah,
which was a step up from Shadow of Mordor, which I believe was a 360 game.
Yeah, but it was on Xbox One and PS4
now.
as well. But yeah, I think it was native to the older generation. But yeah, I mean, it looked cool. I'll sort of see what happens when it comes out. But yeah, didn't look great visually. I mean,
yeah, I would agree with that. So something that did look great, to be fair, was Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I saw this beautiful trailer and I thought, I need to go back and finish Ori and the Blind Forest, and then I went, that is one of the hardest games of all time.
Yeah.
And I'm halfway through, and the thought of jumping back in now, there's no point. I would not have a clue how to even do a minute of it.
Yeah.
So that'll never happen. Such a strange contrast between the sort of the style and themes of that game and how it is to actually play. I'm sure this one's going to be the same. Hopefully it won't be quite as hard, but yeah, I'd love to finish that game, but it's just never going to happen.
Did that do fantastically well? I thought it was a surprise to see it.
I don't know. I honestly don't know how well it sold. I know it was obviously a critical darling, and maybe that's something that they're kind of proud to have on the system as a showcase for what Xbox means. I don't know, and I fucking don't know. But I mean, to be fair, Phil Spencer basically said about the beauty and art of video games, which is something I say about this channel all the time. I celebrate the beauty and art of video games. It's like the tagline to this channel, so I can't hate on him for saying that. He's nicking my shit. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure it'll be excellent. But
yeah, I mean,
I don't have time to play 42 games.
Yeah,
who does?
Yeah, I mean, I played the first Ori and I thought it was ridiculously difficult. But another thing that I'll say about this conference is that I'm quite out of the loop and I don't play games as much as I used to, and I certainly don't read as much coverage. But immediately, Ori and the Blind Forest, Crackdown, there was no surprises. There was very, very few surprises. I knew what they were talking about before they even started.
So I actually realised that I missed out probably the biggest demo of the whole Xbox One X conference, which was Sea of Thieves, the game from Rare that we've known a lot about for a while and has sort of been announced in about the last 17 Xbox briefings at E3 in a row. But cool, kind of an interesting demo. I like the idea of sort of the shared world pirate adventure. I've not been a massive fan of that kind of war pirate aesthetic, but that's just a personal thing. But it showed potential for that same kind of sort of emergent storytelling. I hope that it doesn't fall into the trap of you're just repeating the same things over and over again, because it didn't look like, from a mechanical point of view, that it quite had the chops to be able to sustain that in a way that a Destiny can, or some of those games that, you know, that second to second gameplay is so engaging that you can justify doing the same thing over and over again. But if it's as dynamic as it promises, and if it offers the type of variety and experiences, and you're genuinely doing things you've never done before in other games, this could be a real hit. But we all know that Rare isn't the Rare that they used to be, and what is Rare anymore? It's just, I mean, it's sort of a building and some people. But yeah, what do you think of Sea of Thieves?
I don't know. I'm all about co-op games these days, so I'm weirdly enough, I think the last presentation they did, I don't know whether it was at last year's E3 or at Gamescom or something, it looked way more promising and way more interactive and way more co-op-y than this did. This reminded me, I don't know whether it was the visual style or the way that the game actually worked, but it reminded me of Battleborn, which looks like a fantastic game, but when you play it, it's kind of sort of 6 out of 10-ish, totally passable, fine. But yeah, I'm keeping an eye on this. It looked like a combination of very, very inviting and new. Actually, no, it didn't. It kind of. This is what I'm talking about. Like in my head, because of the sort of seeds that were sown by the last presentation, whenever that was, and this kind of looked a lot more generic and a lot more ordinary. But I'm all about co-op games, so I'll probably play it if it reviews well enough. I don't know. I mean, yeah, not as good as the last.
I'm the same as that, and I do remember the last one feeling like it was more organic, and it felt like.
Did they had like fake? I don't know whether they were fake, but they had gamers like, you know, they did like a fake Twitch stream when they were playing a game and trying to solve some sort of problem. I remember thinking that looks really, really ingenious and cool. This was just basically a glorified sort of loot shooter, and I was just like, ugh, it looked better before.
Yeah. I remember there was a real sense of sort of threat to it before.
Exactly right.
You quite easily just like, you know, you're ditched off your ship, or you're fucked, and that's it. And it, you know, whereas you're right, this did seem like, yeah, we've done this.
And again, it didn't look amazing. It looked like an Xbox One game, which is fine, but
definitely didn't look very good. Yeah,
no, I mean, I'm sure they weren't running it on the updated hardware, and if they were, it was an Xbox One build, which is, they should have absolutely made sure that was not the case, because, you know, they needed to sell this machine.
And then a game that I have to say did look rather good visually, but seemed to be ticking similar boxes to many things recently, was the final game that they showed, which was the new BioWare joint, Anthem. Certainly a beautiful looking game, and a lot better looking than Mass Effect Andromeda, which has obviously caused their own internal situations at BioWare, but we're looking at seemingly a shared world shooter, a loot shooter, a la Destiny. Everybody's in exosuits that drop from the sky in like mini Titanfall Titans. They move like Iron Man. You can sort of fly, and I mean, it looked really nice. My red flag straight. Well, I don't want to be cynical about this. This looks like something that I'm probably almost definitely going to play. I'm intrigued by it. I hope that it has some of the BioWare DNA in terms of storytelling, perhaps instead of choices and character-driven stuff. I'm not necessarily interested in a game that focuses on their shooting mechanics, because that was always the weakest part of Mass Effect, and it certainly looked a little bit like that when the characters and the players in the demo were just moving into combat scenarios. But the other red flag being that everything seemed to be taking place in a kind of corridor. Even though you're in foliage and jungle environments, you know, when you're in an open world, you do kind of want those wide open environments for. Certainly when you're playing in co-op, so you've got different opportunities for flanking and higher ground, etc., etc. Could be very cool. Could be, we've seen it all before. But certainly visually was something quite spectacular.
The best looking game that I think they showed, to be honest. But I mean, it is. I mean, I've just written Anthem, BioWare, Destiny. I think that's what they're going for, isn't it?
Definitely, that's what they're going for. Whether or not I think I said this when we were just talking about Sea of Thieves before. If you're going to do that repetitive content sort of gameplay loop type thing, the mechanics just need to be so strong to really cultivate a massive audience, and we'll see. I mean, the jury's very much out on whether BioWare has the chops to do that. I mean, Destiny is built by a team that has been creating that moment-to-moment gameplay, that moment-to-moment first-person shooter movement since the early 2000s, and before that, really.
Yeah.
But, you know, obviously Halo is the real jumping-off point for them, and there's a reason why, even though you kind of hate yourself for doing it, you can still jump into a strike on Destiny and have fun just because it feels so good in the hands. And I just can't see Anthem feeling like that, but I'm not going to start judging a game from a fucking trailer. I'm not an ignoramus. So I want to play it, and I want to see and I want to hear more about it, and I want to hear from Casey Hudson, who's project leader, man I interviewed once, incredibly grumpy and quite rude to me. But we're interested to hear. I want to hear about, you know, I need to hear. That was the one thing. It was great that they showed a million trailers, but sometimes you do need a creative to come in and explain a game a little bit, I think. Even if it's just a short sort of explaining. That's what I thought in the EA conference yesterday, having that guy who was explaining A Way Out. He did such a great and sort of impassioned job of explaining it. Actually, he sold me far more in the game than the footage did, and I felt maybe they needed a few more creators on there, just giving a sort of 2 to 3 minute pitch, even if it's elevator pitch style on what the game is. But nonetheless, I mean, it's great to see games and not TV and all that crap.
Yeah. When you spoke about that guy at EA yesterday, I couldn't warm to him because as soon as I saw the title, what was it called? Get Out. What was it called?
A Way Out.
A Way Out. As soon as I saw it, I said, this is going to look like Uncharted. And sure enough, it did. So I couldn't really warm to that. When I saw this and I thought, Destiny, it looks really, really glossy. And it's explicitly a Destiny sort of... They're going for that market. If you were to compile a list of 100 developers... that would make a really, really good Destiny sort of something to challenge Destiny. BioWare, where would they be? Probably quite in the quite low, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd want to shoot a studio, really.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So,
it could be amazing, but
yeah.
that's the question that needs to be answered, really.
Or they're doing loads of. They've got that, but there's a whole layer on top of the game we know nothing about yet that elevates it and makes it something completely different.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and then they finished off with the price, I think, or was that just... No, I think they finished off with Anthem. They quickly spoke about the price and then moved on to show something shiny to distract you from the fact it's very expensive. So, yeah, Xbox One X, 1 hour, 45 minutes of conference. Loads of games, as we said. I think a decent job, very slick job. The kind of thing that I like. I enjoy just sitting there and seeing new games and seeing new ideas. Well, perhaps not new ideas, but you know what I mean? New footage and new things to be excited about in the future. I've always enjoyed it. And, overall sort of summation of the conference, decent. I think they're going to be struggling, to be honest. I don't see this going to be the thing that puts them back on top.
Yeah.
Unless... I just don't see how that they can battle against Sony. And Sony have got a pocket full of guns and whatever that means. I mean, they've got their conference to come, so they get to be reactive to that like they have been in the past, and I'm sure they've got a lot to show that's going to be... There's nothing on that Microsoft conference that's going to be able to, compete with games that we know about, like The Last of Us Part 2, let alone some stuff that we're going to be seeing from Sony, I'm sure. So, we shall see. No mention of VR for Xbox One X either.
What the fuck?
Which a lot of people...
I'm out of the loop. What's going on with HoloLens? Have they actually said?
I think that it's not even necessarily like a consumer product. I think it's more just like a tech thing. I don't know if that's even going to exist as something that you can go into a shop and buy necessarily.
What? I mean, that was amazing when that happened.
Yeah, it was. I think maybe it's almost like a proof of concept thing. I don't know. We shall see. But there was a lot of talk that it was going to be the Xbox One X was going to be compatible with Oculus potentially. They're going to go into business with them, but nothing about that.
Well, I mean,
it's just an Xbox. It's an Xbox One. It's a 4K Xbox One, and that is what they said it was in this conference. They didn't try and oversell it in this conference, to be fair to them, but it's not a game changer.
I really thought they were going to come out swinging, and they were going to have all sorts of, and it just... Even the fact that the console looks almost identical to the Xbox One S. I mean, I know it's a minor thing, but the pad. I mean, they'd be rearranging furniture to change the pad, but the fact that this is just basically a souped up Xbox One X. I wasn't expecting it. Oh, I've completely forgot. What did you think of the fact that they're going to be porting original Xbox games to the new machine?
I can tell you the amount of fucks I give, and it would be 0.
Really? There's not anything you want? The thing is, when they announced that, I was like, yes! Fucking yeah! Hang on a minute. What do I want to play that's on the original Xbox? Oh, fucking nothing.
Yeah,
so yeah,
that's exactly what I thought. I thought I've got my original Xbox games in my drawer, and they are Halo, Halo 2, and that's it.
Yeah,
and you can obviously play those already. There's I mean, a few people. Jet Set Radio Future, if I want to kick another hole in one of my walls, but I mean, yeah, really, like Dead or Alive 3, fucking, I don't know. Original Xbox.
When they announced it, I was like, yes, fucking A. But the way that, I'm I'm really happy that Microsoft are doing the whole porting of 360 games.
Definitely.
But my experience is exactly the same as everyone else's, in that I play a game for 5 minutes and I'm like, oh, cool, and then I turn it off because so the fact that they've gone down this avenue, the Xbox One X is essentially 4 consoles. It's the Xbox One, the 360, and the original Xbox as well. But you just kind of I don't know whether that's a great avenue to go down. I mean, weirdly enough, earlier tonight, my friends and I were playing Halo Collection, and we were trying to play Halo 2. Couldn't find a game. No one's playing it. The community is so split that I don't know how. Just putting loads of fucking random old games on, I don't know what's. I kind of miss the days when you got given a new machine and said, the old games are fucking done, play the new ones, there's going to be people playing them. Now you're kind of stuck. We also, actually, weirdly enough, the same person, I told him to buy Doom on Xbox One. He bought it, we loaded it up last night, couldn't get a game. No one's playing it. Literally no one's playing it. So I'm kind of, I love the fact that there's all these old games available, but I just wish that everything would be fucking cast aside and there would have been a new machine and they'd say, this is, that's what I was hoping for. I thought the Scorpio was going to be the start of a new console generation and we could draw a line under everything else. So that's where I am. That's kind of what I wanted, to be honest.
I don't know if we're going to see that again, to be honest. I think this is going to be what it is from now on.
The Xbox One XI.
Yeah, or the Xbox. Yeah.
PlayStation.
Why? Fuck knows. Yeah.
PlayStation 4 Pro.
But yeah, I think it's going to be like iPhone model, shit will just slowly, as the generations move on. Yeah, it's like, yeah, we still kind of support the old one, but it probably won't work. You don't play it on that one.
Why didn't they rebrand? I thought they were going to rebrand Xbox One. I mean, you should abandon that shit. Start again.
Get rid of the one. I mean,
at least,
it was a junk name. It was a name based around all the TV bollocks.
Yeah.
Don Matrick ruined gaming.
I wouldn't go that far, but I've got a lot of questions at this moment.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that is a wrap.
Yeah.
For Xbox One X, and it's been great to talk to you, Mr. Roivas. We do speak all day, every day on WhatsApp, but it's great to jump on. This isn't a podcast; it's a YouTube video, but you know what I mean. And so, make sure you follow Chet on Twitter. He tweets about once every 3 to 4 months. So that's at Croiva, Croiva. But more importantly, make sure you're listening to Chet's newer podcast. I'm going to say newer because it's been around for a while. Cult Film Face Off, where he talks with another chap called Nick about battling 2 cult films every 2 weeks. Excellent podcast, and very much following Chet's real love, which is cinema. So thank you very much for watching and listening to this video. Please do remember to subscribe to this channel if you like the idea of a gaming channel that celebrates the beauty and art of video games, and you want something that kind of reflects what video game magazines used to be, but in a YouTube channel. Alright, I've been Jon Denton, this has been Chet Roivas, we will catch you on the next one. Peace!